Welcome to Sex, Love and Science with Lauren Muratore, clinical psychosexual therapist and relationship expert. This podcast explores sexuality, relationships, and the many facets in between, aiming to normalize sexual conversations, issues that we all face. Let's take the taboo out of sexuality and open up the conversations for a better sexual existence. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging.
Welcome back to Sex, Love and Science with Lauren Muratore. Now, this is actually our final for season 2. Now, I started the season 2 with male sex work, and I'm actually ending season 2 with male sex work, which is not on purpose. It's just the way the scheduling and the subject matter fell. And I'm also not pushing agenda, but I am destigmatizing sexuality, and I think this conversation is relevant. I will be back in 3 weeks' time, starting season 3. So, with further ado, I have Anna Grosman here today, and Anna is the founder of Her Confidant, which is it's an escort agency for females.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Lauren. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Now, tell me, what motivated you to start this business?
I think I was back in my 30s. I had a lot of single friends, divorced, single, and the idea was born from friends just expressing their frustration over the lack of quality of options for women seeking intimacy without commitment. And it sort of just snowballed from there. And my first male escort agency was born, which was Aphrodisiac back in 2012 to 2018. And that was extremely successful. I then had a break. My business partner and I went separate ways, had a break, and then I've just restarted this February 2024 with Her Confidant. I've spoken to so many women over the years, and when I did stop my first agency, a lot of women came to me and said, where are we going to go? Where are we going to get such a high-end quality, safe service? And when coming back this year in February, I still found, I did my research prior to starting, and nothing's really changed. There's not many agents, there's really no agencies or anything like my service. So I'm beyond grateful to be back, and everyone's just embraced it and supporting me. And it's just been a really wonderful start to the year with Her Confidant.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, so you've technically been doing this since 2012, and there's been a massive shift in sex work here in Victoria with the decrim. Mm-hmm. So have you found that's helped, so not resorting to the Sex Worker Act of 1984 anymore and having the decrim kind of framework, has that helped from a business perspective at all?
Well, the only real difference is I don't have to get a license anymore.
Yeah.
And the BLA is not really in charge. And it's just run like a legitimate PR or HR agency, as I sort of compare it to. If you do things professionally and legitimately and come from a good place and treat people with kindness and respect and have integrity and transparency and trust, then it's just like any other normal business.
Oh, absolutely. How many males do you have working for you at the moment?
At the moment, there's 7. There's about 2 or 3 going through their processes, and I've also got a female bisexual lady that caters for women who have never experienced a one-on-one with a woman, and it's something on their bucket list, something that they've wanted to experience, and so I offer that as well. I did offer that with Aphrodisiac as well, so definitely it was a popular experience.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because I guess it's not, it's catering to anything that somebody identifying as a woman would like to have sexually. So exactly. I think that's important.
I think, we need to give women all varieties of options and allow them to explore in a safe environment, in a non-judgmental environment, which is really, really important as well. And women have different desires and needs, and that's why, I sort of stand by these services, and it's such an important and needed service for women.
Absolutely. And you mentioned female desires, which is something I talk about in clinical practice a lot, right? So,
Yeah.
Predominantly women fall into responsive desire, right? So we need a cue in order to want sex. So I'm imagining a lot of your employees would be really good at the art of conversation, teasing, flirting. How do you vet your employees to make sure that they're really well skilled in these areas?
Well, I go through a very stringent vetting process. I always have from my previous agency, where, I'll get the emails coming in or phone calls from gentlemen, and the ones that I feel sort of write in a sort of a proper, mature way that I feel that they will be a good companion, that, are able to put a few sentences together and express themselves properly, comprehensible, with comprehension. I will then send them a 35, I think there's about 35 questionnaire for them to fill out, and it's quite comprehensive and it's quite thorough. I really want to get into their heads and what they're about and why they want to do this kind of work and why they want to, why they love women, all those important questions. And when they come back to me with the questionnaire, I will then see how they've sort of filled out the questions, how they write, how they express themselves. You can really see a lot on paper. And then if I like what I see on paper, then I will invite them for a face-to-face conversation with me. And I want to see if what's on paper is really what's in front of me as well. Because I've had a few where what's on paper is not exactly what I see in front. So once that's done and I'm really happy to go to the next level, then they will provide me police check, health check, and their current license. And then I will organize a trial. So they do a 2-hour simulated trial, similar to a 2-hour booking, where they will then, book a hotel room. I will get the trialer to meet them downstairs. They'll start off maybe with a drink, having a chat. I want to see how he makes her feel, how, he sort of breaks down, the sort of, she's nervous, just makes her feel at ease, and how the conversation goes, is he a gentleman? Is the chivalry there? And then from about 15 to 20 minutes into that first meeting, then they will go upstairs to the hotel room. There'll be music playing of her choice. There's, certain playlists that she might enjoy. So, breaking the ice, making her feel comfortable and relaxed. And then they will probably go into massage, nice relaxation, maybe a bit of eroticism. It depends on what she's feeling. It's all about her. So the gentleman needs to be intuitive and sort of read the room and then sort of move into intimacy. And that's all done within 2 hours. And after that has finished, the trialer will then call me and let me know what she thought of the simulated booking. And if everything goes well, then I will call the gentleman and let him know that, yep, he's coming to join the agency. Okay. So the whole process takes quite a few weeks, sometimes up to a month. It depends on how quickly they actually do, bring me the stuff, all the paperwork, how we, get the trialers, booked at the same time as, there's a lot of background work that gets done before a gentleman comes and joins the agency. So yeah. I'm extremely thorough. It's really, really important that I'm providing a safe and discreet service with, genuinely professional gentlemen. So yeah, it's really important.
That is important. I was going to ask about the safety aspect, but you kind of covered that with police checks and health checks and having their license and really just ensuring that they can put a woman at ease and that they do have those skills. And I think you mentioned, which I thought was really important, is that they're intuitive.
Yes.
Which I think is really important because from a clinical perspective, again, there are so many women who don't know what they like.
Exactly.
Right. So to have that daunting task of, oh my gosh, I'm doing this for the first time, I'm going to book a male escort, and then having the expectation of, well, am I supposed to tell them what I want and how I like it? I think would be really scary and probably a barrier to booking?
A lot of women, it's quite interesting to hear that they just don't know what to do on the first booking. And so just be yourself. The gentleman will lead if you want him to. You know, there's always consent. It's always safe. The booking is all about the client. And a lot of women are just so busy looking after everyone else in their lives that they forget who they are, their substance, you know, what's important to them. And I just want them to embrace their sexuality, find themselves, find that inner child inside them, because we all have that inner child that wants to come out and play. And, you know, sex is meant to be fun and explorative and just in a safe, non-judgmental space where a woman can just be herself and enjoy every aspect of it.
That would be new territory for a lot of people who've never booked a male escort.
Absolutely.
You know, it's such a huge, fantastic service to provide. You know, I'd be curious your perspective on this. My dream job was to always open up an establishment that was for women to go to.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing like that. And I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on why is there not a permanent establishment that are just full of gorgeous men women can go visit?
Well, I'm 100% with you. Before I opened up Aphrodisiac, my business partner and I thought of opening up an establishment for women. And we did quite a few years of research before we started the agency because we're both not from from that industry. And we found that women were just so against coming into an establishment because of the shame and the judgment. You know, they might bump into someone they know and that, you know, the judgment starts, the shame, the stigma, all that. So it was just not going to, I don't think women are still even comfortable now. There's still that stigma that's attached, the judgment, the shame, that it's still, it won't work. Even now in 2024, it won't work.
That's
Fortunately,
really-
I mean, I know I saw someone post on one of my comments that I'm not living in 2024. I've done the research. I know that women won't do it, but they just don't feel comfortable enough. And going to a sex shop is a different experience than going into an establishment for women. So, yeah, I mean, the research has been done, and even talking to women, even up until now, I can't see it happening.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. I mean, I appreciate your perspective. And, you know, I think you're absolutely right about the shame and stigma around it. I mean, you know, especially sex work itself, we were just isolating the topic of sex work. There is such stigma attached to that, let alone female sexuality. And so if we put those two together, it's just kind of all encompassing and quite daunting, I think.
Absolutely. We need to speak about it more. We need to, I think, teach younger women and younger men about sex, consent, all that, you know, all that important stuff that we were never taught at school. It needs to start from a very young age and talk about it freely, not having that shame of discussing it. Everyone's having sex. We come from sex. So why is it still such a taboo topic? Like, I just don't get it. I really don't get it.
And that's why I have this show.
Yeah.
You know, it's just to open conversations from different angles and talk about sex in ways that people don't often talk about or think about, which I think is really important. You know, I'd be curious to hear, you know, your perspective on, you know, the safety element. You know, I think that would be a barrier. So, you know, you do police checks and stuff, but, you know, have you ever experienced any clients who maybe got too attached or didn't feel safe, or maybe needed aftercare because they wanted a more of a fantasy BDSM sort of scenario and they didn't think it was going to go as planned, and so they needed aftercare? I'm just kind of curious about how the agent did that.
When I speak to my clients, I really sort of get to know them and what they actually want, and we talk in depth about the booking experiences and what they have options, what they want to experience. So there are specific clients that are more into a bit of soft BDSM, and there's safe words, and we go through a whole process. So all bookings are safe, whether, you know, they've got a bit of BDSM or not, and the gentlemen, are all consentful always. And with just safety aspects, that's always number one. So women, feel comfortable enough in using the services, whichever waveform they choose to. And I think with safety, a lot of women are choosing these services because of what's going on out there. They're worried about, date rape. They're worried about stalking, rape in general, just so many safety concerns, drink spiking. There's too much unsafe practices out there when going on a date or, going to a bar to pick up, and with men also taking the condom off while having sex without the woman's acknowledgement and consent. That's a huge thing as well. So this is, this service is a safe space for women where one of my clients wrote in a testimonial just a few days ago. I did read it out, and it was really, really touching for her to say that it's the first time in a long time that she could just relax, unwind, and be in a safe environment and just be herself. And I think that's what women sort of are yearning for at the moment.
Yeah. So it sounds like a client or a prospective client will come to you, and they can what you do is you run through what they're really looking for. So even if it's somebody who doesn't know what they want, it sounds like you're almost the middle person. You're tailoring an experience.
Correct.
Now, do you then hear from the client and understand what they're after, and then pick out one of your companions to suit that? Like, how does that work?
If the client doesn't know what they really want or what type of gentleman, and that's where I sort of come in. I can really get to know the client, and then I work out which gentleman would be really perfect fit for her. Unless she knows exactly who she wants, then it's totally up to her, and we book whoever she chooses to. But a lot of the cases, they're not quite sure, and because I know the gentlemen so well, they're like my little family. I know which one would suit the client's needs best.
That's interesting. So do you think it's more from an emotional and a connection perspective rather than an aesthetic attraction perspective?
It's a little bit of both. I do ask them, what's your type? And sometimes the gentleman, the physical, the way they look is completely different to what they actually want to, they're actually wanting. And once the bookings, they're finished, they're like, oh, wow, I had no idea that I would be attracted to this type of a gentleman physically and emotionally and mentally. So, yes, it's quite interesting. Some clients think that they want a specific aesthetic of a gentleman, but sometimes it's not that way inclined at all.
Wow. So it sounds like you have a variant demographic of companions to choose from. So are they different ages, different cultural backgrounds?
Yes, I call it my little box of selective chocolates. Everyone has a different type and taste. They vary from early 30s right through to 60s.
Okay.
And different nationalities, different ages, different walks of life. They all work in professional industries, so they come from different professional industries as well, where the clients can really have quite similar values and can relate on different levels. So yeah, they're all very different. Not one is the same, and I think that's really important to have a variety of gentlemen.
Do you have repeat customers?
Yes, I do. Some are more comfortable to have repeat bookings. They sort of there's sort of a friendship that there's created, and they feel a certain comfort with the same gentleman. And I am aware of making sure that it doesn't go further than that. So I'm always speaking to the gentleman before and after bookings, and I also talk to the clients, reassuring them that friendship is great, and that's sort of where it sort of stays at. I think you need to have a form of friendship when you get into intimacy and get into that companionship, and really be able to open up and share your personal space and really feel vulnerable. So you do need a form of friendship to a degree between a client and a companion.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really is a connection.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I guess from the male escort perspective, it's also wanting to keep personal boundaries and having a work persona, but still be able to provide that, but still be genuine and help somebody feel safe and comfortable. And from the woman's perspective, to be able to feel comfortable enough to engage. So it would be tricky to kind of, for both parties, to figure out what that genuine connection is without it looking too much or too little.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's how it works really well, because like I said, I speak to both parties and everyone's sort of on the same page.
If they weren't on the same page, how do you intervene with that? Like if somebody was getting attached, or really, somebody was really thinking it wasn't.
I haven't had any issues with that this year with this new agency, Her Confidant. I did have only a couple of clients back in Aphrodisiac, and we ended up having to speak to their psychologists, psychiatrists. We actually intervened because it did get to a place where it wasn't healthy. And the gentlemen also have, I work with psychologists, psychotherapists. I always offer those services to clients if they need to, plus the gentlemen as well. So making sure that everyone's, looking after themselves, mental health is really important, and not to take advantage of anyone. That's a really important aspect.
That sounds like a very ethical, holistic way to run an agency, which I have to say isn't always part of the repertoire of an escort agency. That they're,
Yeah, no, it's important. I've always run the agencies that way, and it's really, really important for everyone to be looked after and everyone to, feel safe, and knowing that I've got everyone's back to a degree. And that's a really important aspect.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like you do a lot of admin and a lot of toing and froing to make sure everyone's happy. It sounds like you almost play kind of Cupid to a degree.
Yeah, well, I sort of, I always say it's a win-win-win situation. I want to make sure that my clients are happy, the companions are happy, and that I'm happy, that everyone else is happy. It's really important. That's how a good business should be run. When you look after everyone else, then you will be happy.
Yeah. Tell me about your client. So I'm curious, when I spoke with the male sex worker that I interviewed earlier this season, he spoke about different types of clients that he has. I'm curious if private sex workers have a different sort of clientele than agency. So who's your typical demographic?
They vary from late 20s right through to, 70s, late 70s. It just depends on what they're looking for. The younger ones want a safe alternative option. Some of them have never had sex before, and they want to have sex with someone who knows what they're doing in a safe, safe space, but also not to be pushed into doing something where they're not comfortable with, or sometimes they don't even do anything on the first, booking, because they're just so nervous, and they might need another one or two bookings to just break down the barriers and make them feel at ease. And it's always on their time, then you have, you also have the women in their 30s and 40s who have not had sex before as well, for trauma reasons, or, rape when younger, or for whatever, reasons they might have. We've got the divorced women, single moms, corporate women, women who are widowed, women who are married and their husbands are comfortable with them using the services because, for whatever reasons, health-wise, they're unable to be intimate with their wives. And I've had many women that actually book the services, and their partners or husbands are going for a walk maybe outside the hotel, or go shopping while they have a booking, and then they come back. And some men understand the importance of intimacy for their wives as well. So you just have such a variety of different clients that use these services for different reasons. Yeah.
That makes sense. Anybody in every walk of life really sounds like it.
Yeah.
Interesting, thoughts on, husbands who are walking around the block while their wife is having a booking. I haven't really heard that before.
Yeah, I've had a few book, or even the husbands make a booking. We have threesomes as well, and foursomes. And the husbands are sometimes the ones that book for the wife, whether it's an anniversary gift or a birthday present. It's something that the wife has really always wanted, to be ravished by two gorgeous men, and the pleasure's all about her pleasure. And so the gentlemen book those bookings for their partners or their wives. Yeah.
What a thoughtful birthday present. I'll put that on my list. Thank you.
Yeah. It's quite popular, it just brings them both together. It's something that she wants to experience. He's comfortable, everyone's having fun, and everyone's an adult, consenting adult, and everyone knows the rules, and it's a safe space to explore. And that she's not going to be ringing up and then seeing him on the side. It doesn't work that way. So they'll go home, or once the gentleman leaves, then they have their own, intimate moments, and they have the most incredible experience, and it brings them closer.
Yeah.
From what clients tell me as well. So it's pretty special.
Yeah. That would also be kind of, I'm sure you've seen a lot of that, where maybe perhaps men are booking this for their wife or for their partner, and their wife might not have any idea. So, how do you kind of mitigate those scenarios where somebody might not be willing or consenting to that, and a guy's maybe not pushy but really advocating, for that threesome?
I actually had a phone call a few weeks ago, and I've had men previously where they say, I just want to do it for my wife. And I always ask, is she wanting to have this experience? Has she consented to it? And the gentleman that I spoke to a few weeks ago, he goes, no, it's my fantasy. I said, well, I'm sorry. If she's not interested, she doesn't want to. I said, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And I just hang up. I'm not interested. Like, I need to speak to the woman. I need to get 100% consent that she's happy, because I would never, ever want to force anyone.
Well, if I'm going to consent to
it's just because the husband wants. I'm not interested in what the husband wants. It's all about the woman, always about what my client wants.
That's really good to hear, because you're right. There are a lot of fantasies in that regard. I hear a lot of that, but sometimes the female participant is actually willing to partake in that fantasy, and cuckolding is pretty popular. It sounds like that's something your companions offer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, if the woman is 100% on board, then we'll organise a really special experience for her.
Yeah, fantastic. What do you think the future of sex work looks like?
I think there's a lot of people out there now, especially with the decriminalisation in Victoria, and I know New South Wales as well. I was quite surprised that Adelaide, it's still illegal there, which is quite, really, what? I'm sure they'll jump on board one day soon, and because I've got a lot of women in Adelaide calling me. I can tell you right now. And I've told them they'll have to come to Melbourne to experience that. I think I can see the difference from, say, 2012 to 2024. Women are more accepting of it, and they want things done on their terms. Yep. It's their choice. It's their choice of what they do. They're financially independent. They want to have the experiences, they're standing up for what they want to experience. And I think there'll be more of these type of agencies or companions that will offer these type of services. I'm not sure if they'll be on the same league as what I offer, but I can see more people sort of choosing this as a safer alternative option instead of, the usual dating for people who are not interested in going into a relationship, just to have a great sexual experience.
Yeah, and a lot of press at the moment talk about how women are choosing not to have relationships, and
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole single cat lady phenomenon at the moment, and the advocacy for being single and not choosing a partner. So I can see how that relates to what you're saying. I guess, and you talked about just the caliber of the type of agency that you do run. I'd imagine that the prices would reflect that. So not everybody would be able to afford such services, or they'd have to save for that.
Yeah, well, I do have women who save and previously have saved. So instead of buying, a labeled bag or shoes, or they find these services that are really important for their growth, for their empowerment, for whatever reasons. And other women who are able to afford it, they sort of just have the companions, like on a retainer. So, you get your hair done, you go to the spa, you get a massage done once a week, once a fortnight, once a month. They book the gentleman in the same kind of way. The health benefits. There's a plethora of them. So it's just a well-being service, for your overall health and wellness.
And that's really interesting to think about. How do you advertise? I'd be curious how you advertise, because I'm just a sex therapist, right? And it's really hard to advertise on Instagram, and I can't even educate to the masses about sexuality and relationships because I could be censored. So, what do you?
We sort of, I work with my marketing girl, and we know we can't use the word sex or vagina, or all those, or even brothel. You can't say. So there's ways of typing, and you are able to use those certain words, which I think is ridiculous that they're. Anyway, that's another topic. So we do get around it. We have been sort of pulled up by Instagram specifically to watch what we write and how we advertise. TikTok has closed us down for now, but we will come back. You just have to be aware of how you can advertise them. We're doing a great job now. We've sort of worked it out, and we're just very subtly, but people know what we're talking about.
Okay, so listeners could look up Her Confidant and potentially find your social media handles.
Yeah, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook and LinkedIn at the moment.
Okay, all right.
We have quite a range of different diverse sort of social media.
Awesome. And so anybody listening today could head to your website and check out the companions, read a bit more about you and what you offer in case they're interested by the sounds of it.
Yes, absolutely. Everything's on the website, and all the information's there. It's quite in depth, and it comes from my heart. My website represents me and who I am and how I work, and how, I love working with people, especially helping women. And the words come straight from my heart. And a lot of people have come back saying they absolutely love, it really resonates with them, the whole website, everything that I talk about. And it's quite humbling and rewarding to hear that people really appreciate what I've created and the services that I offer women.
That's so cool. That must be just such a so affirming for you to just know how many women you're helping.
Yeah, no, it's pretty special and extremely humbling that I can offer these services to women in Australia and internationally. I have clients flying in from overseas that use the services, and I'm also looking at I've got a few gentlemen overseas that hopefully will be joining and spreading the love all over the world.
Wow, very, very cool to hear. Thank you so much for joining me today, Anna.
Thank you for having me, Lauren. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much.